Hello YouTube viewers, this is the SamC456. I must apologise for the very poor quality of the camera. It's something to do with the lights or God knows. But today I'm going to be reviewing a very controversial film for nerds, geeks and just general fans of good film. Which the film I'm going to be reviewing is Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace. Yes, that pause there that I said, I'm just contemplating how god awful the film is. Anyone who knows Star Wars or the prequels or just film in general know this is a god awful movie. And I shall be summing this up in a number of ways. Firstly, we shall be looking at backstory. Now, this is a prequel. It is the first in a trilogy of prequels that came before Star Wars Episode 4, 5 and 6, originally 1, 2 and 3, A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. Now, this prequel trilogy is set to show the story of how a young boy, Anakin Skywalker, became the evil douchebag known as Darth Vader. Now, firstly, the whole point about this is it's the point about we see the backstory of how R2-D2 and C-3PO became so famous, how Anakin became Darth Vader, how Palpatine became the Emperor, Palpatine, and pretty much about the backstory of the Jedi Order, which is pretty much extinct and wiped out in Star Wars Episode 4. So this is like showing them the height of their power, and while the Republic is still alive. So in that term, everyone was really hyped and excited. It was one of the most anticipated movies of the decade. Well, seeing as it came early in the decade, I'd probably say the century. It was one of the most hyped and anticipated films, because Star Wars was considered one of the greatest movies of all time, and the chance to look back on this film was incredible. So, in terms of just looking at it from that respect, it's going to be brilliant. Right. Then we have plot. This plot is just completely bonkers. You have pretty much the Jedi are going to go and inspect the Trade Federation, who are these evil gits, pretty much, who have put a blockade around the planet of Naboo. And it makes no sense. They send 2 Jedi when the Jedi Order is most strongest. Just blow them up! It makes no sense. And from the whole thing, that pretty much starts an invasion, an army. The Emperor's pretty much behind, well, now he's called Palpatine. He's behind everything evil. And he makes the decision to send the Jedi in the first place. In the great scheme of things, I don't see how it's supposed to work. It obviously does work because he becomes the Emperor, but you can't just... That's the only thing I have to say for it. The plot is mental. There's secretly this evil Sith Lord called Palpatine who's training up this Sith Lord called Darth Maul, who's a secret evil assassin. But why not just kill all the Jedi? He's powerful enough. You've seen him in action. He can take on like a Jedi Master and win. It's just... oh, God. The plot can be... because if you think about it, the basic Star Wars plots are simple enough. Episode 4 is just, person on a farm, parts of Rebel Alliance, blows up evil ship. Episode 5, pretty much, they do a lot of rescuing and fighting and stuff, and that's the end of it. Episode 6, he's a Jedi, blows up a big ship. That's pretty much the basic plot, but I think the problem is they try to make Episode 1 too complicated. So that's the first part of the thing about the plot. Secondly, the characters. Now, these characters are god-awful. We have characters such as Samuel L. Jackson, one of my favourite actors in all of film history, who is a basic, monotonous 2D character who doesn't deserve any screen time as Mace Windu. He just sits there and talks, and he's a moany little bitch. He does not deserve any screen time. Secondly, we have Ewan McGregor, another fantastic actor who plays Obi-Wan Kenobi. The only time he actually acts properly is when Qui-Gon Jinn, spoilers, dies at the hand of Darth Maul. He gets pissy, he gets emotional, and he's actually very good. But the rest of it, he's boring. Boring is the way to describe most of these characters in it. The only character I was really looking forward to was Qui-Gon Jinn, the master of Obi-Wan Kenobi. But I love anything that Liam Neeson's in, like in Taken or Hostage. Any of those are fantastic. But in this, again, the same. Monotonous, 2D, boring. He's supposed to be a maverick, but all he seemed like was just a normal boring master. So he's boring as well. The only character who's actually fantastic in this film is the guy that plays Palpatine. And the only reason for that is he acts boring in 2D as well. But it's just because of the fact that his backstory, you know there's always a secret motive under there. And you can... just a very vague hint of what his true identity is. So, we get on to a character that is not boring, but is the exact opposite in being unfunny, racist, stupid, and we all know, Jar Jar Binks. This character is completely animated, so he doesn't look like he fits in with the characters at all. He is not funny. He is there just for basic comic relief. it was in there to provide comic relief for children, which is the sort of thing that C-3PO provided in the original movies. But he's so patronising and so stupid. I don't even think when I was a kid I found him funny. I mean, it's just awful, his character. He's racist, like the way he's like taking the piss out of Rastafarians. It's just god awful. But there is one thing about this film that makes it even remotely good, and that is the fights. The fights in the original films, everyone's got to admit, were awful. Especially the one in the first film with Obi-Wan Kenobi and Darth Vader. That was just the most slow, boring fight I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of fights in various films. But in these ones, my god, they were fantastic. The fight scene between Darth Maul, Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Qui-Gon Jinn, all three of them fighting with God, the dual-bladed lightsaber, I think has to be one of my favourite fight scenes in film history. Maybe even my favourite scene in the whole of the Star Wars franchise. And seeing it come from Episode 1, I'm probably going to get slated for this. But it was just so more dynamic and athletic. I mean, even when we look at Episode 6, the fight between Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, that fight's still quite slow and basic. But this one, it's just incredible. They combine forces. They combine force jump. Like, it's just absolutely incredible. So, that's a positive thing about it. And, of course, the one thing we have got to say about is the style of acting from one specific character, Anakin Skywalker. He is meant to be the whole reason these trilogies were made, the trilogy was made. He is the focal character around what the whole of the Star Wars franchise revolves around, the character of Darth Vader, how he came to be. I think they didn't need these prequels. He was fantastic as a mysterious douchebag, pretty much, but by making him this little innocent boy, sounds like a fantastic twist, except the one thing. He can't act! He is such an awful character, and he says the worst line in history by saying, "Are you an angel?" By saying that to Padme, you just think, please shut up. You want this guy to die. It's almost as if you're looking forward to all of his 4 limbs getting cut off by Obi-Wan Kenobi, just so you hope that the bastard dies quicker. So, with every single one of those faults, in characterization, in plot, in terms of just how much they ruin the original franchise, makes it one of the most awful films I could possibly say. But, do you know what makes this film even worse for me? Why I hate it so much? Why I hate the facts about this film? Because I still love the film. It's a fantastic film in certain senses because it's still part of Star Wars. If it was a standalone film, I would say it's probably god-awful, but because it still has this link and all the different points between Star Wars, like you look at R2-D2, you think, oh, it's R2-D2 who's in the old films. And the same with C-3PO. You think, oh my god, it's C-3PO. He's naked, but he's still C-3PO. If none of those elements work, the film would be terrible. But the fact that it still connects to Star Wars, I am a Star Wars nerd. I prefer this to Star Trek and Doctor Who and anything science fiction. So for the fact it's still related to Star Wars, I love the film. It's one of my, I hate to say this word, but guilty pleasures. It's something I hate, but I just can't stop watching because it's just one of those things. I mean, on Facebook a couple of weeks back, I made a huge campaign for people to try and give me the DVD because I'd lost the video and I couldn't watch it at all until someone hacked it for me on the internet, which you do not do. It's bad. But because I need to watch the film, I recommend any Star Wars fan has to watch it, and then you have to publicly hate it but secretly love it. So that is my review of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Tune in next week for Star Wars Episode 2, a film that I probably hate even more, and in this sense, I don't actually love it as much as Star Wars Episode 1. So, thanks very much. This is Stan C456.